been a longtime fan of Tomb Raider games. The climbing, the exploration, the gigantic environmental puzzle solving, and the shooting have always come together in a satisfying combination that few other games have been able to replicate. But Lara Croft's most recent adventure, titled Rise of the Tomb Raider, fell flat for me. The game certainly deserves some praise. The environmental models are stunning. Lara's hair looks nice, but it looked nice in the last one too, so... If I was writing a review about the game, I certainly couldn't find enough fault to tell people to avoid Rise of the Tomb Raider, but I definitely didn't enjoy the game enough to suggest paying full price for it. I'd slap the old worth trying label on the end of it, and I'd recommend people to wait for the inevitable sale, which I'm predicting will be at least 33% off this Steam summer sale. But this isn't a review, it's more of a rant, which I rarely do, so I'll cleverly call this video Everything I Really Didn't Like About the New Tomb Raider Game Because It Should Have Been a Lot Better. The video. There's no one thing that stood out as a gigantic offender to me about the game. It's an amalgamation of little things, so let's start with the absolute smallest thing that bothered me about the game, and we'll work our way up from there, shall we? The game could have been called Tomb Raider Risen, or Tomb Raider Ascension, or Tomb Raider any synonym for Rising. That way the series could have stuck with a proper naming sequence. My entire collection of Tomb Raider games are in one nice pile in my Steam library. The only ones that have broken from the path are the top-down shooter Lara Croft games, which had the decency to both start with the words Lara Croft and and now Rise of the Tomb Raider is stuck between Return to Castle Wolfenstein and Risen. Like I said, we're starting small and working our way up the scale. Sound design, not the best. The guns in this are so weak sounding. They don't even sound like guns. They sound like people dropping old phone books on the ground. And the gunplay is also uninspired. The 2013 version of Tomb Raider had much more gunplay, and the weapons felt better in that. The enemies didn't just fall over if you tickled them. Speaking of tickling enemies, the AI in this is rock stupid. You can stealth kill 80% of the nameless baddies the game throws at you, thereby making gunplay almost entirely unnecessary. The remaining enemies you can melee kill with your climbing pick, which makes finding and upgrading your dozens of guns pretty much a waste of time. And you know what else? I'm all for taking inspiration from popular culture for your games, but this lady is clearly Evangeline Lilly from the Hobbit movies. Okay, I feel like I've nitpicked enough, but I could seriously go on. Like how every 2 steps the game breaks up its own pace by putting out boring audio logs for you to listen to? Does everyone just carry around a backpack of spare digital recorders to randomly spout out their personal feelings and then throw them away? Audio logs can and have been great ways to introduce exposition, but this takes it too far. Alright, big issues now, I promise, big issues. Rise of the Tomb Raider has taken clear inspiration from other recently successful video game series, namely Assassin's Creed. I unabashedly enjoy the Assassin's Creed series, but no one can deny that Ubisoft has always gunked up their maps with teeny tiny collectibles. And though you can't see me, I'm saying collectibles and making air quotes at the same time. They aren't collectibles. You don't explore hidden areas and find hidden treasures. Everything appears on the minimap. They aren't secret. There's no exhilaration of discovery. They're simply dots sprinkled copiously on the map for you to gobble up like Pac-Man. They add no real gameplay value. Collecting these items isn't fun. It's busy work. Collectibles have always been a part of the Tomb Raider series, but never to this degree. And in the past, you had to find them on your own. And if you reached a point of frustration, you would reluctantly look in a guidebook or online somewhere. Rise of the Tomb Raider is infected with the Ubisoft map plague. It feels like busy work you give to children just to keep them from leaving their seats. Speaking of being treated like a child, the climbing and exploration gameplay of Rise of the Tomb Raider with its constant pop-ups treats you like a child. Nailed that subject transition. But seriously, Rise of the Tomb Raider's platforming and exploration are neither a challenge nor fun. The risk of falling or missing a step resulting in death is practically non-existent, unlike past Tomb Raider games where a miscalculation or a slip-up from your sweaty hands resulted in trying again. There is a point after several hours where the game lets you throw your climbing pick on a rope like a grappling hook. That's actually genuinely fun. Ever since the days of Pitfall and Bionic Commando, I can never seem to get enough of swinging in games, but in Rise of the Tomb Raider, it's definitely too little too late. Unlike other Tomb Raider games where a similar grappling tool is given to you right from the start, and the games don't hold your hand as much. And Rise holds your hand right to the very end, constantly bombarding your screen with tutorials and tips for techniques you probably learned and mastered hours ago. It has zero faith in the player, and that just feels terrible. I'm normally not bothered by on-screen tutorials because most games know when to quit, but these just kept coming, and there was no option to turn them off in the options menu. Yes, I know how to jump, I know how to climb, I know how to make Lara hold on, and how to swim faster. Just get off my screen. And finally, the biggest offender, the thing that bothered me the most about Rise of the Tomb Raider. I hate the story. Or at least Lara's impetus, which seems to grossly misunderstand who or what Lara Croft has been or should be. And as a result, I hate Lara Croft in this game. I think she's unsympathetic and an unworthy heroine. Personality-wise, I think gamers have now seen 3 distinct versions of Lara Croft across her career. Up until the 2013 version of Tomb Raider, Lara Croft has been a self-confident action heroine that could be described as a combination of James Bond, Indiana Jones, and Batman. And for a video game, that works. It's a simple enough archetype to place the character of Lara Croft anywhere in the world, solving super complex 3D puzzles in a fictional temple in the jungle, or getting into shootouts in urban settings. In those games, the character of Lara Croft was less important. The games focused more on the jumping, the running, climbing, and the arcade-style shooting. But Lara was still identifiable as a platform of escapism, and she discovered the world's hidden secrets both for her own pleasure and to advance the fictional field of archaeology. The 2013 reboot of the franchise brought about a new Lara and focused heavily on her personality and eschewed a lot of the game's classic elements. This version of Miss Croft was tossed into an almost horror film setting. Her journey was not about adventure and exploration in the romantic sense, but instead it tapped into a survivalist mentality, sort of like playing an extreme version of Survivor Man or Man vs. Wild with a science fiction twist. I thought to myself several times while playing Tomb Raider 2013, okay, if that was me, I would have died there, and there, and there, and there I probably would have cried myself to death. And there. In 2013, Lara is shown as determined and tough and loyal, never giving up on herself or her friends. Her self-preservation is fueled primarily through altruism. Her triumph means the survival and rescue of her group of friends, and though she comes across some marvelous finds along the way, it's not her primary goal or what drives her. But this new Lara Croft seems to have an entirely different personality than the one in 2013. Her motivation is no longer selfless, it's entirely selfish. And though Lara's wealth has always been part of her backstory, I've never, until this entry in the series, thought of her as a spoiled rich girl. Not that she focuses on material wealth, more that she's oblivious to how her actions affect everyone around her.
I can't give up on him. Not now, it's all I have.
No, it isn't! If you stayed still for 5 minutes, maybe you'd see that.
Before the events of Rise of the Tomb Raider, Lara's father dies of a semi-mysterious and tragic circumstance. Was it murder or suicide? Either way, as an outside observer, I don't care. Sorry to sound apathetic or unsympathetic, but that alone doesn't seem reason enough to me to go on a murder rampage. And since I know nothing of the character of Lord Croft, I don't share in Lara's emotions or motivation. One man died. In retaliation, she kills hundreds. Mercilessly. Lara's drive is to continue her father's search for a mythological prophet and potentially the key to immortality. That motivation is sort of close to the pre-2013 Lara Croft, a desire to push humanity forward, but mostly it's because of her father. And since her father is dead, it's to make herself feel better. It's no longer a primal need to survive. This is almost entirely self-serving, which goes against the type of character Lara was rebuilt as in 2013.
This is not your burden.
Of course it is. My father died for this.
Her selfishness rears its head further in her relationship with her friend Jonah, who is lost in the friend zone. While in the frozen mountains of Siberia, far away from humanity, they get violently separated. Once Lara regains her bearings, she tells Jonah through broken walkie-talkie communications to not search for her because she has to do this on her own.
Jonah, if you can hear me, go back. Please don't try to find me. I need to do this alone.
Are you kidding me, Lara? Even if Jonah makes it back to shelter, he is still in the mountains of Siberia, far away from civilization and safety. And I'd be willing to bet that you were his ride home. And if he makes it home without you, I'd bet people would be asking some serious questions. Perhaps you should also look for him to ensure his safety, who, by the way, gets captured and almost killed while Lara is off being self-serving and killing dozens of people. But this clumsy way of telling Lara's story didn't have to be. Since the Tomb Raider series isn't afraid of hiding its roots, they could have taken inspiration once again from Indiana Jones. Her father could have been a real character in the story, kidnapped by Trinity and forced to help them find a super powerful relic, and Lara could chase them across the globe trying to get him back. Before the end, if they really want to push Lara into the murder rampage mood, they could have killed him off like Ben Kenobi or Dumbledore or Gandalf. But it could have also been a mystery, taking a page from Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code or Elizabeth Kostova's The Historian. Lara and Jonah could have been together following clues left by her father, whose well-being is unknown, in various exotic locations across the globe, all the while uncovering the identity of the dark armies of Trinity. Either alternate story scenarios allows the characters of Jonah and her father to become real characters, and gives Lara back that selfless purpose. I was under the impression that post-2013 Lara Croft was going to be about stepping out of her comfort zone, but still being an absolute natural, like a Jason Bourne, but with more PTSD. The story in Rise of the Tomb Raider doesn't seem to fit that. But again, I was also pretty underwhelmed with the gunplay, the environmental puzzles, the cluttered map, the weak sound design, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Those were some pretty environments, though. This video is made possible through generous fan donations on Patreon.